Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you all to one of our webinars, Women Veterans Alliance webinars. I am Melissa Washington. I am the CEO and founder of Women Veterans Alliance. I'm a Navy veteran, and I started this organization 7 years ago as a local meetup, and now we are nationwide. Also, too, if you haven't heard, we have launched several Women Veteran magazines. We are in the process right now of working on Women Veterans Oregon and Women Veterans Colorado. That deadline is December 15th. That publication will come out in 2023. We are looking for photos for the cover, articles, authors, illustrators, and advertisers. And you can find that information on womenveteransmagazine.com. We have also too, we are working on Texas, Florida, and the DMV area. And these covers, the photos are the women that will be on the cover. So if you see your photo there, you will be on the cover of these publications. Again, womenveteransmagazine.com. Feel free to connect with us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And definitely follow us on YouTube, because not only this presentation will be on there, but also other webinars are featured on our YouTube channel as well. So we have some more upcoming events more towards the later of August. We have on the 23rd with Rita Henry, relationships when people aren't who you want them to be. And then we have another webinar on the 25th. Have you ever been told you should write a book? And on the 29th is the Women Veterans in Business radio show, and all the information can be found on the events page of our website. Also, too, upcoming, if you haven't signed up, September 9th and 10th is Women Veterans Engage event. This will be in various locations throughout the US. You can watch both online and you can join us in person. These are the 4 speakers that will be speaking on September 10th. So I highly recommend you register for this event, which will take place September 9th and 10th. All right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Craig Hansen. And this is, hopefully you're all here to learn more about how you can complete your degree in New Zealand. And Dr. Craig, I'm gonna let you take it over from there, and you can share your screen. And I'm sure everyone is very anxious to hear from you.
Good morning. Thank you, Melissa. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the members of your organization. It's a real privilege. And hi, everybody. My name is Craig Hansen, and I'm coming to you live from New Zealand. And it's very cold over here because it's the opposite season from what you have. So I'm very, very chilly here, and I'm sure you're basking in the beautiful heat of America in the Northern Hemisphere. So thanks very much for giving me your time. I know we've got at least one man on the call as well. So well done, very brave. So well done, everybody, for making it today. I'm delighted that you've given us some time to share about the opportunity to come to New Zealand. A lot of people have New Zealand or Australia on their bucket list. Maybe in the chat, if you've had New Zealand or Australia on your bucket list to do, maybe you could just pop that in the chat. This is a great opportunity to do that. So the University of Applied Research and Development is internationally accredited in the US and in the UK, and we operate out of New Zealand. So we're looking to give you the opportunity to come and join us down here in New Zealand, enjoy the beauty of New Zealand, the gorgeous food of New Zealand, the lovely people of New Zealand, and also complete either your bachelor's degree or your master's degree, either one of those, whichever one you're interested in doing. We do focus on leadership in the times of crisis. Our degrees are in emergency management, and that's pretty appropriate for people that have worked in the military, because a lot of your experiences, a lot of your training, your certifications, things that you've done fit one or more of the phases of emergency management, which are really around preparedness, response, mitigation, and then recovery. So whether it's an emergency or a disaster, which might be something related to the climate or an earthquake or a war or a sudden event, each of these 4 phases of response to a disaster or emergency, you can see many things that you would have done in your service or in your current service, particularly those things that may not be tangibly written down, such as leadership, communication, and planning. Those sorts of things we actually acknowledge and we give credit for into our programs of learning in our bachelor and also into our masters. So this program that we're running and this opportunity to come to beautiful New Zealand and study with us is focused on emergency management, which is a growth industry, increasing by a minimum of 9% every year. And COVID-19 has really exacerbated the need for qualified and experienced and trained emergency managers to manage the response to those types of situations. Now, if you are a passport holder from the United States, you can come to New Zealand and you just simply need to fill in a short online application. Once you fill in that online application, it can be as short as 20 minutes to get your electronic visa. That visa allows you to arrive in the country, get off the plane, and have 3 months in New Zealand. You're able to renew that indefinitely as well, just by popping over to Australia for the weekend, another beautiful country close by, and then come back and join us for another 3 months. So you can indefinitely extend that for 3 months. So 3 months, pop out, pop back in, and have another 3 months as well. So this is the great opportunity that you have. So our schedule that we're looking at is for the period of time from the 9th of October to the 21st of October. So that 12-day time frame to arrive for an intensive. So we've stripped out a lot of the additional content and really focused on the necessities. And I'll get to the academic topics that we're going to cover as well. But this is the schedule, just so you know. So this is the intensive that we're doing over a 12-day period of time. And it is your choice to either return to the States and you can continue online, or you can stay in the country for that 3-month period of time. The intensive is the launch, the start of the program. So we're going to cover a range of topics, which I'll get to soon, but I just thought you might like to see these up front. So Randy is an ex-Navy SEAL commander, and you can see the team at the bottom on the right-hand side. Travis Wilson is a Green Beret, and Dr. Julie, you may have heard of as well, runs a number of programs such as She Talks, combat boots to high heels, and runs a number of leadership programs for women as well. So while you're in New Zealand, you're going to be doing a number of academic topics over that period of time while enjoying beautiful New Zealand, and we're going to be focused on Auckland. So I've got the map for you here if you're not familiar with Auckland and New Zealand. We have 3 main islands. So down the bottom of the islands, you can see the smallest island, which is Stewart Island. Beautiful, very rugged. We won't be going there. Then we've got the South Island with Nelson, Canterbury, and Otago. Very big, beautiful, and a little bit cold at this time of year, so we won't be going there. But we will be based in Auckland. So when you fly from the States, you're flying into Auckland, which is in the top half of the North Island, which is heading up closer to the equator. So it's quite warm, and it's where I live as well. So in Auckland is where we'll be basing our activities. And if time permits, we'll be going to the capital city, which is Wellington. And maybe you can see my mouse moving a little bit on the bottom of the North Island. So if time permits, we'll go to Wellington, but our real focus will be in Auckland City. So in terms of academic topics, you'll recognize some of these topics as being related to your time of service, and you'll recognize how important they would be as part of emergency management. So leadership and team leadership, managing a team and motivating a team, understanding how to lead a team through a time of crisis. If you're wishing to move into business, or you're already working in business and you want to move your career forward or move your leadership forward, we'll certainly be focusing on that with the skills and the background and the experience of Randy and Travis and Julie and myself. And we also have some guest speakers from New Zealand who are leaders in New Zealand in leadership, communication, and crisis management and emergency management as well. So we've got a range of topics on the left-hand side, and some of them are increasingly important now, particularly agility, ethics, and negotiation, which you'll see down the bottom of the blue box. The world is moving very fast. Technology is moving very fast, and how we communicate and make decisions needs to be fast and robust and also ethically sound, particularly when we negotiate for assets as we're moving our projects forward. So these are the academic topics that we will be focusing on during that 12-day period of time. On the top right-hand side and on the right-hand side, you can see some photos of Auckland City on the waterfront, just to get an idea of what it looks like. And this is the region where we will be based in Auckland and the top half of New Zealand. In terms of the activities that we will do while you're in New Zealand and studying, if you can imagine going to beautiful Waiheke Island. Waiheke Island is about 40 minutes from Auckland. You can see it on the bottom left-hand side. It's quite a large landmass, comparatively speaking, for little New Zealand. Waiheke Island has some incredible vineyards, beautiful place to go kayaking and bike riding. So if you imagine kayaking through the beauty of Waiheke Island around the coves and the bays, pausing to look at the nature and thinking about, okay, how do we lead in times of crisis? How do we manage our team? How do we deal with emotions? How do we manage our time? How do we gather resources and handle a supply chain? How do we link with community organizations? So as you're paddling around the beauty of Waiheke Island and discussing topics from the academic list, if you imagine going horse riding through the beauty of the New Zealand forests and pausing and thinking, okay, how do we build a team? How do we increase diversity and inclusion? How do we recognize the cultural differences and the different ages, and particularly this being a time when we have 4 or 5 different generations actually in the workforce, the different generations at the same time? How do we manage those differences in the generations? And pausing while your horse is neighing and you're looking out through the beauty of New Zealand and riding your horse along with your team, and pausing to stop and consider those academic topics. If you imagine going to the historic area of Puhoi, having a beautifully crafted New Zealand beer and sampling some of the New Zealand cheese, pausing to think, okay, how do we also look at the regulations? How do we negotiate for assets? Going to Muriwai and Rotorua, which has some beautiful natural features like the geothermal area, the gannet colony, how are we doing sustainability and conservation in New Zealand? And pausing to think, okay, how do we lead when there are times of crisis? So I'm trying to convey to you that there's this combination of the academics and making sure that you're going out, and it's because you've traveled to get to New Zealand, spending time in the beauty of New Zealand, seeing the sights of New Zealand, experiencing the culture, the food, the scenery, and not being just in a classroom. If you can imagine sitting there at night time and being in one of our restaurants and looking out over the forests and the seaside of New Zealand, and over the nighttime meal, having a glass of wine or a glass of beer or a non-alcoholic beverage, and discussing the topics from that academic list. That's our focus. That's what we want to do for you while you're with us. So we've got a range of things that we're going to do. On the right-hand side at the bottom there is one of our venues. That's the Puhoi Historic Pub. We'll be doing some of our activities. Here's the forest at Riverhead, which we'll be riding our bikes through as well. On the top left-hand side, this is the far west of the Auckland region and the beauty of the forest with our native birds. And here on the bottom left, up north, past New Zealand, about 2 hours north, we have our horse riding and our trekking as well. So I'm trying to convey to you that this is a great opportunity to pursue your degree, complete your degree, and work with us on that, but also experience the beauty of New Zealand, the people of New Zealand as well. So how does this work? So through the GI Bill, the tuition fees are covered by the GI Bill through the VA funding. Also, while you're in New Zealand, because it's an international space, you get your housing allowance for the month, that time that you're with us. And if you choose to stay and extend for those 3 months and onwards as well, every month that you're with us, you can receive a housing allowance. The last time that I looked, it was around $1,800 per month. The flights for New Zealand and coming back home and returning back to the States is out of pocket. That's for you. And you can choose to stay and extend. And I want to make that clear that you do have that opportunity. If you come for the intensive, it's going to be an incredible time. But you can choose to stay and extend out for the 3 months, pop over to Australia, and then come back to New Zealand and stay longer as well. So Alpha Elite Performance is Travis's organisation. Synergy Learning Institute is Dr. Julie's organisation, and Ameria America Combatives is Randy's organization as well. So the three of them will be coming over during that October period of time for the intensive that we're running here in New Zealand. So I just want to pause and stop sharing because I've given you a lot of information there in a short period of time, and just see if you've got any questions, whether it's questions about what I've said, what we might be doing, traveling to New Zealand, any of the topics, anything at all. Really happy to answer those questions. And I'm going to look through the chat and see if there are any questions there. And Melissa, if you want to jump on back with us as well. And if anyone wants to, if at the bottom of the screen there's the hand button, so you could raise your hand if you have any questions. Really happy for you to turn your mic on and we can have a conversation as well. So open it up to questions now. And I can see that Bonita said she's visited Australia and would love to spend time in New Zealand. Okay, Bonita, I'll give you the link to sign up. We'd love to have you come.
Hey, Craig, and this question's come up before. So if you have to have the post 9/11 GI Bill, there's no other way to participate in this program without the post 9/11.
Correct. Hi, Melissa. Good to see you. I can see you there, Melissa Stitchell. She's joining us in October. Hi, Linda.
Hi there. Hey, thanks for coming on this morning and letting us know, or at least morning in the Northern Hemisphere here in the West Coast. I'm wondering, the application process is just through the website that was on there earlier. Is that true?
That's right. So we've got a very simple Google form.
Okay. Is there a max or minimum number of participants?
Maximum is 30.
Okay. And Melissa, you mentioned we must have access or remaining 9/11 bill to do this program. I've used the majority of mine, and I'm unsure if I know I have a little bit left, and I'm wondering it might fit into that 12 days. Do you have any idea if the process goes by day or number of days, or by like a quarter, academic quarter? Does that question make sense?
Yes, it does. It'll go by the academic quarter.
Okay.
For the term time frame that we've got set up in the VA system.
Okay. Okay.
So we're encouraging people that are interested to apply using the link that we've got, which is the simple Google form, and upload your documents, and then we can put that into the VA system and see what's available. So if you've already used much of your GI Bill allowance, then we can just see what's left and what's available by putting it through the system.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
And Craig, you and your team have access to that system, correct? So you'll be able to share that with whomever applies.
We do, absolutely. So I was enrolling people last night, putting them into the system, and we'll get notification back on what's available for each person.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome. Look forward to seeing you join us. Bonita, hi.
Hello, I'm in that same situation where I've used all of my post 911 GI Bill, but I know there is another program that has recently been offered to veterans if you are looking to change career fields, and they pretty much do the same thing that the GI Bill does. They pay for, educational pursuit endeavors. And so I'm just wondering if that's not a consideration. I don't remember the name of the program right offhand, but I know they have limited funding to help veterans retrain into a different career field. Like, I'm a nurse by trade, but I'm not looking to go back into the nursing career field. And so this would definitely be something I'm interested in.
I've just popped my email address into the chat there. So anyone, Bonita as well, if you would like to send me the details of that, then I can see if that fits with what we've been approved to do.
Okay, will do.
Sometimes things move very, very fast with the VA processing, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm really happy to try and see if we can get that sorted before October.
And Craig, and I think a lot of people too may have curiosity. How does that work? I mean, if you as an educational institution, you have to go through a process, right, for the VA to be approved to even do this program. How can you just give us like a brief overview on how that works?
Sure. It was a nearly a year-long process. So we submitted all of our academic programs, all of our content, our venues. We submitted all of our staff, our accreditation internationally, sent it all to the VA. And they have a team that actually reviews only international institutions. And so they reviewed all of that and then approved it so that we could access the GI Bill to pay for the tuition fees. So it was pretty rigorous and took a long time, particularly because there were people coming back from Afghanistan at the end of our processing. So it took a lot of time to get that done. So it's a pretty rigorous review. So what that means is that people can study with us internationally, overseas in New Zealand. We don't have locations in America. So that's why we're inviting people to come and join us, because it's a different process for an international organization such as we are. So it took a bit of time, Melissa. Just in general, it's the academic program, the staffing, and our accreditation internationally. Mark.
Greetings, Craig, from Texas. And
Hi.
Hi, I'm here with my wife. We're both retiring here shortly, and we are both Army reservists, which means we are not full-time soldiers unless we've needed to mobilize for something, and we both have civilian jobs as well. So what is the best way to submit information to you about our training backgrounds or our experience backgrounds? I don't want to overload you with military specific documents that may seem crazy to you. So what is the best way? Just a detailed CV or some other type of document?
Yeah, great. Have you got the flyer?
I do.
Melissa,
I do.
on there is a bit.ly link. There's a short link that I created there, and that'll take you to a simple Google form. I'm really happy for you to fill that in, and then I can see what's available for you from the system.
Okay. All right. I'll just follow the lead on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Sarah, did you have a question?
It was back up top, but I didn't catch your response to the VOC Rehab Chapter 31. And I was looking at your email address. I was going to email you the question, but maybe there's more people here who are curious about that.
Okay. Chapter 31, vocational rehab education benefits. I'm not sure if we have that. I just I know that we got approved for the GI Bill, and I'm pretty sure it's Title 33, but I'm not sure if that fits. But I'm really happy to inquire using that enrollment form, that application form that's on the flyer, so I can submit your documents to the VA and then see if we can get approval.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Craig, that might be something, because I know it sounds like you got approved for the posting of 9/11 GI Bill, but if hopefully you'll do this program again or something similar, but maybe that could be something to consider, is looking at the VOC rehab benefits, because a lot of people do have those.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Being from New Zealand, we obviously have a very different system, and we don't actually look after our military well at all. We don't have benefits for them afterwards. And so I'm learning as we're going, and I know that we've got the GI Bill approved, and that's a real win for us. So the more that you can tell me about other programs that might be a possibility, you can email me, and then I'm really happy to pursue that as well, so we can help as many veterans to take up this opportunity as possible.
Well, I think it'll be good for just looking at it. If you are interested, even though you may or may not, it still applies. So then you have that data, right? So you could say, okay, here we had 12 people that applied that don't qualify, but they qualify for this. So I think it's important for those to go ahead and that have some interest to apply. I'm just a recommendation. I'm not saying you have to do it, but just knowing how the VA works, they like that kind of data.
I'm just looking at Cecilia's question. You missed the first part of the talk. So the program is a Master's in Emergency Response and Risk Management, and we have the Bachelor of the same name as well. So it's focused on emergency management.
Question, if we choose to, if we do get selected for the program and just do the intensive in New Zealand, is the duration of the program just the 3 months thereafter?
Then there are some requirements to complete once you come home. so that we can finish up your degree, whether it's the bachelor or the master's, which is about another 3 months. And that means that you also complete some FEMA courses, which are part of our program, and also the International Association of Emergency Management. So those things can be completed online, so that can be continued if you're not in New Zealand, if you go home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Someone was asking for the link to the Google Doc. I'm just going to grab that and I'll drop that in the chat. I'll give you the link directly to that form. It won't be the short bit.ly one, it'll be the long one. So I'll just drop it in the chat for you. Go.
So, Craig, there's a
Melissa's
couple other
asking,
questions. You see those in the chat?
yeah, I'm just looking. Melissa's asking.
This meeting is being recorded.
I'm just looking. Melissa's asking what
Okay, go ahead, Craig.
Thank you. Melissa was asking what companies are recruiting from this program after the degree. I've got to say, this is a ginormous opportunity in terms of industry growth for emergency managers. I was doing a bit of Googling on some job sites in the last week. There were something like 75,000 jobs in emergency management at different levels, just in Texas and in California. Huge number of jobs at different levels, of course, and different seniority, but it's a huge growth opportunity. The other thing is we are an International Association of Emergency Management, a partner organization that was started in the States, and the Region 9 president, which is Todd DeVoe, who's a veteran, is actually the person who leads our faculty in the States and does the online programs for us. So he also helps and assists with job opportunities. So I just want to emphasize, Melissa, thanks for asking the question. This is a huge growth in industry and emergency management. And also I'd encourage everyone to think, you know, you've done some things that other people haven't done, and you've traveled overseas and you've worked in difficult circumstances and you've led teams and been part of teams. Overseas, like the Ukraine is a perfect example. The Southeast Asia with the earthquakes, tsunamis, and with the hurricanes that are happening. These are huge opportunities to actually respond and be paid for it and build your career and continue to travel and work in teams around the world. The opportunity to be an emergency manager internationally is huge and growing as well, particularly because the States has such a footprint around the world in different nations and being part of many other organizations. So even within America, you could be an emergency manager, but the opportunity to travel internationally and see things and do things overseas and serve overseas and lead overseas, that's there. And so when you think about emergency management, it's not just being a firefighter, it's someone who actually leads teams and deploys and sets up hospitals in remote areas, sets up infrastructure and services, and could be like vaccinations, it could be going out and setting up a school where there's been an earthquake, could be coordinating international organizations to respond in a certain city where something has happened, where there might have been a fire or there might have been a hurricane or an earthquake. So the opportunity is really international. So if you're interested in traveling internationally with the career of being in emergency management, that's really huge now and growing every day. Just looking through the questions. Our previous cohorts, that's a great question. New Zealand has been one of the most closed countries for the last 2.5, 3 years. And so our borders haven't been open to physically have students here. We've had students who have been studying with us online, but coming here in person. This is our first international cohort. So you are the trailblazers. Can you get a part-time job? While you're here, you are a tourist. So you can't work while you're here in New Zealand. But I would like to suggest, not for Mark, of course, and his wife, but for the rest of you, you may like to find the love of your life while you're here in New Zealand. While you're here, because you have 3 months if you choose to extend and stay with us. So you never know who you might meet. You might meet the love of your life while you're here and decide to stay. Not that I'm promoting that, of course, but it could happen. Just looking through the links. So I've put the Google Doc and the links for you, Carmen. Teresa, yes, Teresa would love for you to apply, and absolutely we'll put it through the system and see what can be approved for us. Cecilia says, sign me up quick. Linda, yes, thank you for mentioning Team Rubicon. We've been talking with Team Rubicon, and Todd, who runs the faculty in the States with our online programs, is involved with Team Rubicon. And we had one of their team members as a guest speaker for us about 4 weeks ago. Team Rubicon is amazing. Melissa, I think that's it for the questions that are in the chat.
I have a question.
Jessica has a question. Did you want to type it, Jessica?
Are we eligible if we already have a graduate degree?
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Jessica, if you submit that with the online form, with the Google form, and submit your transcript and your other studies you've already done, we always give credit for things that align with the learning outcomes so you can complete faster.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Good question. Megan.
Hi, so I'm just now browsing through the master's, kind of the Canva slideshow, and it talks about that the classroom can be delivered online and in study groups where possible. So, and I apologize if this was addressed earlier and I missed that at the very beginning. So the school, the University of Applied Research and Development, that is based in New Zealand, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so we can stay in New Zealand if we have the funding or wish to, and take these courses in person in New Zealand, or would it still all be online?
So the intensive that we're running during October is in person. And when you stay with us, if you choose to stay longer and take up that whole 3 months of your visa while you're here, the classes will be in person and online. So we actually have developed it to be delivered online because of COVID. But while you're with us in New Zealand, they will be in-person classes.
Okay, so then this master's course, to get your master's, how long would it take if you're just able to like go hard and, you know, like what would be the minimum amount of time to finish it?
9 months.
9 months. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carmen, if we were to stay for the 3 months, does the period go over the Christmas holidays? Yes, it does. So the full master's degree is actually a 2-year master's degree. You can complete it in 9 months. That's because of 2 things. One is the accelerated study and the intensive that we're doing. And secondly, because we do recognize from your joint services transcript and previous trainings that you've done and the roles and responsibilities you've held, we recognize that many of those activities and things you've done align with the learning outcomes. So for example, leading team leadership. There's many things that you would have done in your service or doing now in your service that matches with those learning outcomes. So we give you credit, and Todd does that as a veteran and as a lecturer and an academic. He lines up your background with the learning outcomes. So we can give you credit for many things that line up, which enables you to finish faster. So a lot of veterans that we have in our online program right now, they simply need to do a few top-up courses, then they do their big research project, and then they can complete their masters. Most of them will be done in about 7.5 to 8 months, but 9 months is a reasonable amount of time with credit. Getting it done and coming to the intensive, you'll have your masters done in 9 months. Mark, you've got your hand up. Did you have another question? No? Okay.
No, he does not have another question.
Thank you. Where can we find information for medical care coverage for us while we're on the visa? So before you leave, when you book your flight, you usually have the option to book for insurance. And so you'll need to get insurance that's covered, and I'll encourage you to get an American company that gives you travel insurance. So get travel insurance while you're in New Zealand. That's for you to do when you get your flight. So just for the period of time, I'd suggest that if you're planning to stay for the 3 months, get it up front, because you get a cheaper deal for the longer that you get your travel insurance for. That's the best way to do it. When is the next scheduled cohort if you want to go around springtime? The next cohort is, we're in the planning of that at the moment for February 2023. Are you primarily looking for a management background, or you're also looking for those with science background? You can have any background at all. And often having a different background is fantastic, because the range of different things that you do in emergency management, the different types of people that you're involved in, the different situations that you respond in, having a diverse background with different subject areas is really, really valuable. So your background academically is not important. As long as you have a degree, you can do the masters. And whatever your background is from your joint services transcript or any other training you've done, Todd will look through those transcripts and align them with the learning outcomes so you can get credit if it is available. But we welcome everyone. Sarah, that's a great question. Megan, your hand is up.
And that question really helps kind of segue into what I was running around in my brain with. My background is public relations and strategic political communications. And I've been kind of wanting to get away from social media and all that tediousness of that. And I'm pretty good at bossing people around in a nice way. I do wedding photography, and I've had to like manage like groups of 60 people where I'm just like da 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 da. And I've had this old grandpa say I was the most organized photographer he's ever worked with, which is a big compliment. And so I really wasn't aware of like exactly what the study was, and I apologize, but now I'm just like, this seems awesome, and like something that I would actually probably be pretty good at. But knowing like any background, any BA would work. With that in mind, if do they need like communications forward type individuals working in this field? Like would this master's, like if you want to do also not just like the going out and setting things up and being leadership roles of, you know, bossing people, being like, okay, logistics, because I'm definitely logistic minded, but like communications, do they need that type of work in that field, like, you know, crisis communication?
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a range of different experiences there that would actually be really, really valuable in the emergency management field. And emergency managers, they need to take a range of different, particularly FEMA courses. These are the self-study FEMA courses. And we actually have built some of those into our program. And they are PR, they are communication, they are media strategies. And so understanding how to do that is really important in the flow of communication. You know, we don't tell everybody everything. when an emergency is happening. We tell people what they need to know and how they can get help, and understanding how to do that is actually really important, being able to convey that. Also, there are 3 different levels, generally speaking, in emergency management. There's being a team member, there's being a team leader, and then there's being a team trainer. So if you think about it from those 3 levels, most jobs in emergency management fit into one of those 3 levels, whether you're participating, you're leading a team to respond, or you're training people to respond. And part of that training people to respond is organizing exercises. So I'm sure you've been through many of those where there's a scenario and people have to respond to that scenario, and it's like it is an emergency, it's like it is a disaster. And so setting up those events is actually a role and responsibility in emergency management. So there's so many different things that you can do as the career of emergency management branches out and you see the opportunities. So Megan, I think you would either find your place very, very quickly by doubling down on what you can already do, or if you don't want to do some of those, there'll be many other opportunities and pathways you can take that'll build on the skills that you already have. Hope that answers your question. Okay. You're welcome, Linda. Cecilia's asking about housing. So the VA with the housing allowance, it's about $1,800 a month. And I meant to have a slide about this just so you can see the exchange rate. When I checked last night, $1 American is $1.58 New Zealand. So 1,800 American dollars is about $2,500, 2,700 New Zealand dollars. So for a month, that can very, very easily do your accommodation, your transport, and your food. But when you come to New Zealand for this intensive, we will book everything for you. We'll book the accommodation, we'll pick you up from the airport, we'll handle all of your transport, the food will be included as well. And you simply hand over that housing allowance to us for that period of time, and we'll do all the bookings and everything for you. You are welcome to organize that yourself and just hold the housing allowance yourself, but we would encourage you to just give that to us so we can handle all the bookings for you for that. So the tuition is all covered, and then we will organize all the food, all the transport and accommodation and everything else. So just, I think I'm answering your question there, Cecilia, but housing allowance from the VA, and then we'll handle all the details for you. I think that is everything.
Looks like you answered them all.
All right, everyone, my email address is in the chat, and I'm really, really happy for you to email me and answer any questions you like, and we can even jump on a Zoom and have a chat if you'd like to do that. And just before we do finish, I would like to thank Melissa again. Thank you very much for organising this. Really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for your service, and thank you everybody on this call for your service as well. I really admire your contribution and what you've done.
Thank you, Dr. Craig.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Melissa, for bringing
Yeah,
this.
thank you,
to us.
Melissa. Yeah, this is great. This has been very informative.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Dr. Craig.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yes, yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Dr. Craig. Thank you, Melissa.
Bye, Cecilia.
Bye.
Yeah, you all have a great day.